meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. Hey, hi everyone. So this is the Right Talk, and I don't know where everybody is on your screen, but below me is Brittny. Over yonder is Latedra, and joining us tonight is Miss Candice.
Hi.
And we're going to be doing campfire tales tonight. So we're going to have a lot of scary stories that you can tell other people in the dark. And when they're afraid, you can thank us later. Just let you know. Candice, you want to tell them a little about yourself?
Hi, my name is Candice Lola. I am a horror and gothic fantasy writer, and essayist sometimes. My stories employ a lot of like West African mythology and social commentary, I'd like to think. Anyway, Halloween is my favorite holiday, which is why I, started throwing a little light makeup and I dressed up my dog too. She's a gnome.
Oh, she's so cute.
She's a gnome. All right, and she is over this costume, so out she goes.
She's like, I want to massacre everybody tonight.
And my social media handle should be down in this little corner there, Candice_Lola. And I'm also really excited. Okay, was there anything other information you needed from me?
Nope, you did an awesome job, and thank you for that. So we're going to read stories, and we're going to have a rating system. So from one being cool, and 5 being I'll stay up tonight. Each time we read a story, that's a hell of a rating system. I'm gonna stay up tonight. What? Y'all gonna be telling stories that scary? Like I wasn't prepared for none of that.
Just in case.
So I don't know if y'all are familiar with, well, I'm sure you are, you've all seen the movies. So we have, scary stories, and then we have urban legends. What do y'all think is the difference between both of those for you?
I feel like urban legends, some people believe, or they stem from like a real phenomena that people sort of imagined a character and a story around. And I find that they can be scarier because it's like you see that weird tree over there and it connects that scary story or image to real life. To real life. My mom told me a lot of urban legend stories when I was growing up, and I think that's why I was so afraid of horror when I was growing up and why I love it so much as a grown-up.
I agree with what Candice said. I think that is what urban legends are. And scary stories tend to have like, at least for me, like a gore to them, where urban legends don't necessarily have to have it. Yeah. And I think that's the difference for me, like that gore, the blood, and kind of thing.
Since I haven't really looked into either all that much, I can assume that urban legends don't necessarily have to be horror in nature, even though there might be a lot that are. As for, I guess, horror, it's just meant to frighten you, basically. I mean, to me, in a nutshell.
So what was a villain in a story that really made you afraid? Like you couldn't sleep at night after you saw it?
I think my first one where I actually like snuck in and like saw them watching it was like, I think it was like the Pumpkinhead one.
Oh, that one was
I know
great.
That's a movie, but it still was like, I remember catching my sister and her boyfriend watching it. I was like, what? So,
yeah. I guess I would say 2. One is the little black doll from Tales from the Hood that was attacking your sister. Yeah. Like my aunt had those in her house, so I would just side-eye them every time I would go there.
Oh, wow.
And well, they didn't look that scary, but they were just like
questionable.
And the other one was Final Destination Death, because that was like way too close.
Oh,
Yeah.
I still remember that first scene
True.
from Final Destination 1. Whenever I see like a car carrying wood, I'm like, nah, we gonna have to.
Same.
We're gonna change
Same.
I stopped driving with a water bottle like in my little console after Final Destination because I kept thinking about it rolling under the thing. That to me feels like urban legend. Like, oh my God, that can happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Very true.
Yeah. Is it my turn? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a little cliche, but Freddy Krueger was the first character who scared me. I didn't even watch the full movie. But my classmates told me, because I had really vivid dreams as a kid and I didn't always understand them. And it was like, wait a minute, they can like, something can get me and kill me there. Sorry, my dog is.
Oh, I straight thought something was back there. I'm like, girl, you gotta check on that.
It's having
That's
a
the
fight of
jump
her
scare
own.
for the episode.
Like, we're gonna have to sign off, guys.
Oh,
Sorry.
Freddy Krueger scared the heck out of me because he just played with the unknown a little bit. I really didn't know what dreams were or what they, we still don't really know. And what if a really campy guy in a hat could stab you?
So, are y'all ready for some scary stories?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Miss Candice, start us off, and then we'll
Right.
rate your story for scariness.
Okay, so I realize that we have some options. I can read an excerpt from The Bloody Chamber, which is, Angela Carter, right? An excerpt from Midnight Indigo, which, it's a Black speculative fiction journal. And Black Book for Black women. It's really, really good. Or I could tell you a story. I was thinking about urban legends. I could tell you a story that I inherited from my dad.
Dad inheritance.
Yeah, the inherited one.
All right, I figured that would win. Okay. Okay, so my family is very, very religious. I grew up Seventh-day Adventist, right? And my mother was from the Caribbean, from St. Lucia, and my dad is American. And one thing they bonded over was their fear of the supernatural, or the devil, as a Seventh-day Adventists like to call it, right? Especially because they had both had encounters that were odd. My dad especially. And one of his favorite stories to tell me is him being 17 and in the Navy, docked somewhere where all the sailors were off and like having fun. And my dad was more of kind of an antisocial guy. And he decided that he was just going to stay on the boat and sleep in, right? So he says he remembers being in these huge barracks that echoed. And everyone kind of slept on a bunk. And he remembered there was this guy on this bunk, maybe 3 or 4 bunks down, snoring really, really loudly. And he remembers that all of a sudden he couldn't hear the snoring anymore. And there was like an odd smell in the air. And he turns like he was on his side. He turns a little bit and he sees this huge black formless thing standing at the foot of his bed. And he said he could tell that it hated him, and it started to sort of engulf the room, and there was complete silence while this is happening. And he had just heard that guy snoring, and it's starting to like engulf and come towards him and everything like that. And he managed to say the name Jesus, right? And the thing disappeared. And so so he told that to me as a cautionary tale for a long time. And then I grow up, and I'm like, I don't really know what that is. And I'm working because I was working in psychology before I decided to become a writer. I was working as a counselor at an overnight. I'm sorry, at an academy where kids like lived and got counseling and went to school. And I was the overnight counselor. I had to be in the room with the girls, which was kind of like a barracks. There was like 12 beds in one huge room. And my job was to sit in the dark room all night in case anybody woke up and needed me, or if someone needed night medicine or anything like that. And I would get exhausted, of course, because I'm up 14 hours on like my iPad. So I fell asleep on a beanbag accidentally. And that night, all of the beds were filled except for one. We were like waiting on a new resident. And I remember sort of looking over to that corner and just feeling a little bit unsettled. And I didn't remember falling asleep, but suddenly that bed started to vibrate, right? It's like maybe 50 feet from me. It starts to vibrate and I'm like, what is going on? And then the same formless black engulfing monster that my dad describes rises up out of this bed, right? And there's like these little cute like bookshelves between it. It rises up above us and it's humongous. And it starts to come towards me in the same slow manner that he described. And I didn't feel hate. What I felt was hunger.
That's
as it was coming towards me. It felt hungry and I didn't know what was going on exactly. And and there was another girl that had been complaining about like a night terrors before. Like she would just be like, I can't sleep. I keep waking up screaming, right? So I'm frozen. I'm stuck to the darn beanbag chair. This thing coming towards me. And I'm like, this must be Sweet Polaris. It's like, move. And I finally was able to like move a toe or something. And I woke up right when it was maybe 10 feet from me. And I realized as I was thinking about stories for this broadcast that I inherited my dad's demon.
I'd have quit that next day.
Wow.
Like all that shit that got left there. Like,
that's so freaky.
I inherited it, dude. That's what I'm realizing. And so
you're getting a 4 for me. Far be it for me to validate your experience.
Can I just say that the story that I'm reading tonight has like a smokeless black figure in it?
Really?
So that is freaky as hell.
Signing the hell off. I'm done. Brittny, you got this. You can take over. I'll see y'all later.
Oh gosh.
Damn.
That was good.
Thank you.
I want to say 5 because ghosts are my no zone.
Yeah. Really? I don't even know what it was. It was like,
wow.
But didn't Bruce Lee had deal with something similar? Wasn't that a thing with him as well and his family?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Bruce Lee, wasn't that a thing with him and his family as well? That they had like a demon that haunted them too.
Oh, I don't know.
No.
I hadn't heard of it.
That was a thing. Sheena's on the research.
Yeah, please.
Oh my goodness.
So I mean, I guess it's a thing that runs in families, maybe.
I guess so. I got his nose too.
A lot of people say they train with Bruce Lee's ghost.
Okay, Bruce and Brandon haunted by a demon. So in 1993, there was a biopic, Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, which detailed the life of the martial arts legend and featured a remarkable portrayal of Bruce by Jason Scott Lee, no relation. The film was approved, blah, blah, blah. In fact, offered to play, move. Okay, so in a particularly eerie dream sequence, Bruce is seen battling a samurai-like demon, which has been haunting him since childhood. After showing Bruce what his tombstone would look like, the demon suddenly stops fighting with the martial artist and makes a beeline toward the terrified preteen instead. So, and Bruce Lee died in March 1993, 2 months before Dragon was released. The film is dedicated to his memory. So I guess Brittany's right. Like they had to have gotten that scene from somewhere. So
because his son died too by a freak accident on set. Because I think he got shot by a prop gun. And I think the chamber was. I think I haven't looked it up in a while, so I could be wrong. But I know his son had died in a freak accident too on set.
Wow.
So there used to be a thing that people talked about, or that he mentioned, or something about a demon or something that used to haunt him as well. So that's kind of what I was thinking about while Candice was telling her story. I was like, oh, that's kind of sound like Bruce Lee.
That sounds like a story somebody needs to write where the demon is haunting their family. Is that what Midnight Indigo is about?
No, it's about something totally different. Like I literally just put it together as I was thinking about stories to tell for this broadcast. So like day before yesterday, I was like, that's exactly the same demon my dad described. The feeling and everything.
What did your dad say when you told him?
I haven't told him yet. He would probably perform some kind of exorcism. I don't know.
We'll hold off on posting this until you do.
Okay.
He's gonna look at the show and be like, Candice? Be like,
You got something to tell
What
me?
is this? What is this? We'll send you the Bible. We'll send you some holy water. He just, yeah.
So out of curiosity, before we move on, did you look to see if those beds were donated from somewhere that was creepy? Like, did you try to supernatural that situation out?
I did look up. The beds were they're supposedly new. You know, they're supposedly, but a lot of girls came through that facility.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of girls came to that facility, and there was like, you know, it was like a treatment facility. So there could have been something that someone left behind. You know,
I'd have resigned that day. they'd have just found a note. I wouldn't even have said bye.
like a V-shaped hole in the wall. Like, I'm out of here.
Who wants to read next?
Wait, are we finished discussing like the story setup, the story's payoff, what made it horror, all that jazz?
We can. What would you like to say?
I don't know. I'm just gonna throw it out there so we can talk about it.
Oh man, you gotta come with it if you're gonna say something.
I have it on the list, like the story setup, like how she introduced it, giving us the backstory about, or prefacing it with her dad's experience. So we already kind of knew what to expect, but wasn't really sure how it was going to turn out. So that was really good. So even though like she warned us or gave us an indication ahead of time, it still was scary, and it still was like surprising, so to speak, even though it was almost the exact same scenario. Mm-hmm. So I think that was really, really good.
Thank you.
Hey, awesome storyteller. The story's payoff. Great. It was a really good payoff.
I mean,
pretty much. It was very effective. It was super effective. Like Pokemon.
I think it's creepier because it's a real story.
Yeah.
Because now all of us are gonna be like, so everything black, shadowy in our room. Hey, is that Candice?
Checking on you every now and again. Make sure you're still all right up there.
Now I'm gonna have to go buy some sage and burn it like Latedra. You're hearing a scary story. Thank Candice.
No man might be in the corner there. I keep thinking about like look how it's dark over here, and I'm like, is that?
Yeah. Look at you. You gonna scare yourself.
But I have to watch some cartoons tonight.
That always does it. That
is the best remedy. Care Bear scare.
Yep.
Story 2.
Yay!
Yay.
Don't be shy. Hey.
Tedra, you can start.
I'm sick.
Oh my goodness.
No, mine is like very light, I think, compared to what y'all are probably going to read. So that'd be like a reprieve.
All right, well, I'll go ahead then. So I have a list of true scary stories. Don't know how true they are because they don't give me an actual location, which I feel like with urban legends, somebody who knows somebody knows the urban legend. Nobody you actually know has experienced this urban legend. So this one's called The Visitors, Footsteps in the Snow.
Oh,
all right.
A young man was visiting his aunt one day when she told him about a horrific incident that had happened to her when her nephew was a few years younger. One night, she was home alone in the house when she thought she heard the front door open. She listened closely and could hear something walking in downstairs from the hallway. Her husband had told her earlier that evening that he would not be home for a few more hours. Worried, the man's aunt slowly went downstairs to see who was there. Nobody seemed to be in the house, but when she looked outside, she saw footsteps leading up to the house, but not away from it. When she returned to the downstairs hallway, she found an unfamiliar pair of shoes not far from the door. Terrified, the young man's aunt ran across the street to the neighbor's house and contacted the police. When the officers arrived, they searched the premises and found a homeless man hiding in a small storage room. Clutched in his hand was her husband's shotgun. Thankfully, her husband kept the ammunition in a separate location from the gun itself. The homeless man was promptly arrested. Now, I don't feel like this was a very scary story, and this is the reason I picked this one. Simply because while it's a true story and it's unnerving that something like that could happen, I don't feel like the story payoff. The way that they told the story gave it enough build up, and it didn't personalize the story.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's like I don't even feel like it's urban legend, because even the man with the hook arm, you know that he's the man with the hook arm. They kept referring to this person as that woman's aunt. They didn't give her a name. They didn't give you anything that would make you, I guess, take ownership of the story. Mm-hmm. Whereas like with the story that Candice told, I took ownership of that story because one, they were people who looked like us in the story, and she's sitting right there. So I was like, oh my God. So, like I said, I picked this one for a reason. For those of you who are writing horror, please make sure you're personalizing the story and giving us stuff to latch onto, because it's different when you're telling someone something that could be scary, but it's not the same when you're making someone feel something is scary.
Yeah.
So I would give that one like maybe a -1 if I was going to have to rate that one.
Yeah.
Oh, Brittany's like, that's at least a 1.2. I mean, nobody wants a homeless man with a gun in your house, but
right.
So like, right. He was a squatter, was he?
Oh no, ma'am, they didn't give you that much detail. Like, not at all. Like, that actually would have made it more scary. Like, he's been in this house the whole time, and like for the last 6 months.
Right.
Yeah, you're like, what?
Like, who? Does he know it's a recession? Hold up. Like, there would be some questions.
Yeah,
so
that would
like,
be asked.
This is like a break and entering.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't necessarily know like why this was put into the scary story area.
Yeah.
Mine isn't so much as like an urban legend. It's more of like a horror story. Ooh. And so a little bit of backstory from how I know the characters. So I'm reading a short from Trey Briggs, the writer, and you can find her on Instagram by that handle. So Jude is a kid who basically has no identity before he is Jude. So he's just Jude. Little black boy with this blue bang that covers up his eyes. I could probably pull up a picture of him. If y'all can see it, I don't know.
Yeah, I can kind of see him.
Y'all see him?
Yeah, I see.
So that's Jude.
Yeah.
And then there's one of 8 too. So this is 8. This is the little girl he's like obsessed with, because before he found her, he had not known anybody who was like him. And so he has this big question about like where he comes from, what's this hole in his head, why is nobody else like him, just kind of void of emotions. But he is the opposite of what he's supposed to be. He isn't supposed to have all these questions and stuff like that. And so this excerpt is like him just kind of like fed up with her not answering his questions. So here we go. And it's called Trash. And it's told from Jude's point of view first, and then it goes into hers. And I'll try to signify that. So first is Jude, and it's called Trash. I want to see it so bad. It itches. It burns. I stare at her sometimes through her window or from her vents or outside of her classroom. I get into all of these odd places and I stare at her and I can't make any sense of it. There's nothing under that bang, I bet human lives, there's nothing under there. No eyes, no ears, nothing. And she doesn't smell like the humans either. A scent comes off of her that is intoxicating. It's beautiful. Even her garbage smells good. I go through it every now and then. 8 walks like a human. She eats like a human. She stops writing sometimes, looking over her work and worries like a human. It's that bang. No matter how much it moves, you can't see under it. She never coughs or sneezes or leans her head forward. When she's writing, she tilts her head up facing forward, hands moving with no visual guide. I have a few hunches on what it could be under there. I'm sure it's a lot worse than what I'm hiding under mine. The creature. The creature only moves when my hair does. This is 8's side, I'm sorry. The creature only moves when my hair does. I'm not sure when it arrived. I've been here a couple of years now, avoiding that blue freak, learning. People avoid me, and I'm fine with that. I don't want to interact, just learn. I just need to understand things. When I enter the home, the thing wakes up. I know it's awake from the smoke. It billows from the closet, suctioning through the vents installed over it, choking through the roof. I don't know who installed that. I don't know where the house comes from or why I live in it. Usually I set my books down on the desk that is there for me. I sit down myself. I start on the work the instructors provided me. I just need to understand things. This is the only thing I know for sure. The creature, when I lean forward too much and my bang moves and my hair shifts, it slowly adjusts. The smoke billows a little bit more. It just want what you want. It just wants to see my face. Oops, quick. Then this one is 8 and Jude. Oh no, sorry, that's her telling about them. So that's kind of it.
I love the abrupt ending, like, and done.
Because they're like short stories. Just like they're basically like characterizations for all of her stories on here. And I think I read the wrong one.
What you read though was good.
I did read the wrong one. It's called Show Me 8. That's what I was looking for. But anyway, yeah, that's one of my stories.
Oh.
I liked it. Like I didn't necessarily feel that it was scary, but I wanted you to keep reading. So I was like, okay, so what's about to happen? Someone's gonna get kidnapped, someone's gonna get got, where we at? And then you stopped and I was like, is that what you're gonna do? It like that?
But that's the way it is. Like she hasn't really worked on any of the other ones. Like she only does like excerpts for this story in particular. And so most of them are just like little minor snippets of their day-to-day lives. Oh yeah.
So is it written in journal fashion?
I would say yes. Because the way she explained it, this was kind of like her outlet. And I don't want to say too much because this is her story, of course. But this was like her outlet for like anger and stuff. And she would put it all into like them. But most of her stories are like dark horror and fantasy and stuff like that. And so when I was struggling to find like a Black writer that I knew of that wrote horror, that wrote short stories and horror, I thought like, I don't know, I ran across her again. I was like, oh yeah, let me see what I can find. And 8 and Jude is like one of my favorites of hers. And so maybe on the next one, our next go around, I'll read the other one.
I think the key to horror is that there's something that you don't understand in the story, and you don't know if it could hurt you or something like that. And I like that she sort of takes advantage of like this girl might not have a face, and what's the creature, and what is he hiding with his bang? Like I really like to see take advantage of, you know. And puts that idea in your head that people can be hiding something in plain sight like that, which is terrifying. Which can be terrifying.
That brings up a question. Do y'all prefer like jump scares or do y'all like slow burn scares?
I like slow burn scares.
I like slow burns.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it kind of depends. Like if you're with people who are fun, I think jump scares are fun. Yeah. But if you're like by yourself and you want like a scary story, I like slow burns.
Yeah.
If we're at a haunted house, then yeah.
No,
I'll take the jump scare. Because like otherwise I'm probably swinging on somebody in real life. Yeah. Like, don't do that to me. You value our friendship. Like don't just jump out at me like that.
I definitely like to be like slowly pulled in. You know, because a jump scare, like if it's a movie I'm watching or something I'm reading, the jump scare is only going to be scary maybe the first 2 times.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know?
Yeah.
But the slow kind of like haunting, things, tropes that horror movies play on, like your reflection not reflecting you back all of a sudden, or things like that, where you don't quite things that you kind of don't understand but have accepted as normal, and then the horror movie or the horror is like, what if it's not, and it sticks with you, messes with that aspect. I really, really love those.
I also like things that are not really scary under normal circumstances, but when you put them in the wrong place, they're creepy, like children laughter. Normally, that's a happy thing. Like, you love to hear about happy children, but you're at a random dark house and you're like, what?
I
hate that.
Gotta get y'all kids.
What's so for real? Like, I can't stand that.
Sheena, can I just say that I appreciate your love for the odd in normal spaces?
I love those things.
I honestly do love your appreciation for that.
I do. I love those things.
So, Candice, Sheena likes having like stripper trolls. Is it stripper trolls? Am I saying that right?
Trolls and fairies. Yes, I like things that don't normally go together ever.
No,
you're like,
trolls are not. It doesn't. Love that.
I can't wait for y'all to meet Cocoa Puff. She's great. That's her name.
Puff.
I'm ready.
She's a stripper troll. That's what she does. She makes a lot of money though. So.
With a name like Cocoa Puff, man.
Yes, right.
She's popular and weightless when she's on the pole, so they started calling her Cocoa Puff.
Hey.
I'm like, yeah.
I can see that. I'd give her $.
I mean, Okay.
All right, Brittny.
It's my turn.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. This is my first time reading this story, so I'm going to be just as surprised as y'all are. All right, be it good or bad. So here we go.
What should be the scariest one?
I doubt it. This one is called "Mother Is Back." Is a short story found in, I guess, an anthology called Sleepless Nights. It can be found on Amazon. So here we go. Love is blind, and so is hope. But something doesn't become true just because you want it badly enough. I don't know why it is in my house, but I'm not going to be fooled. I say it because she isn't my mom. She looks like her and talks like her and smiles like her, but it isn't her. The worst part is Dad doesn't even notice. I saw them dancing in the kitchen when I got home from school. Frank Sinatra was playing on the stereo, his smooth voice propelling their tangled bodies in a slow waltz across the room. My dad's eyes were closed as his head rested on its shoulder, and he seemed genuinely happy, happier than I've seen him in a long time. I just dropped my backpack and stared. It let go of my father and hugged me. I stood stiff as a board. Mom never used to hug me when I got home. She knew I liked having my space, but there's no denying how soft and warm she felt, or the lavender odor of her shampoo washing over me. We're having homemade pizza with the cheese baked into the crust, my dad's favorite thing in the world. And seeing him so happy, I didn't have the heart to say anything. I just went to my room like a coward. I just pretended everything was fine. Maybe if I wasn't a little happy to see her too, I would have fought against it harder. It's been hard for all of us since Mom died, but that was no excuse to let it into our house, just so we could pretend we were a family again. But Mom, my real mom, would put me to bed without staying to watch me fall asleep. She would hold on to my dad's arm when he talked, but she wouldn't dig her nails in so deeply they drew blood. She wouldn't forget to blink for hours at a time. 2 days have passed. I've been struggling to decide what to do. No, that's not quite true. I know what needs to be done, but it would be so much easier to just keep pretending like my dad. Maybe in time, I would even forget that a drunk driver T-boned my mom's SUV while she and my dad were coming home from their date. I'd forget the bloodstains on the asphalt and the hours I spent waiting for her in the emergency room. Maybe I'd even forget how it felt when she didn't come out. Then again, maybe those are the memories that aren't real. They certainly don't feel real when it sits between us on the sofa to watch the evening news. But letting her be replaced, even if it was easier for Dad and me, wasn't any way to respect my real mom. It was for her, not for me, that made me finally speak up. Dad, we need to talk about Mom. I'd waited until it went to the bathroom, which doesn't happen nearly as often as it used to corner my dad in his bedroom. He just kept reading, not even returning my gaze. He knew what I was going to say, he just didn't want to hear it. Do you remember what happened last month when she was in that accident? It's getting late. You should go to bed so you'll be ready for school tomorrow, Dad said. Dad, this is serious. Please tell me that you remember. I heard a flush from the bathroom. There wasn't much time. I'd never get an answer out of Dad with it here. Dad was watching the bathroom door too, like a kid praying for the bell to ring before the teacher collected homework. The shower began to run, and I let out a deep breath I didn't even realize I was holding. Dad sighed too. There was no getting out of this. Yeah, I remember, he said. He stared back into my eyes. I finally had his attention. Do you remember the hospital and what happened after? Yeah, it was a pretty bad crash. We're also fortunate that nobody was hurt. His eyes were keen and sharp. He couldn't have forgotten. He was just trying to get me to accept it without having to admit it. For my real mom's sake, though, it had to be said. She died, Dad. We went to her funeral. He didn't flinch, didn't even blink. He just smiled. Don't be ridiculous. She's in the bathroom right now. I ran over to him and grabbed him by the shoulders. I shook him, but he didn't fight it. He just kept staring at me like I was a puzzle he was trying to solve. You're lying. You know what happened. I know what happened. Why are you lying to me? Aren't you happier this way? He asked. If you think about what happened, really think about it, you'll realize this is the best thing for you. There, that was the proof. He wasn't trying to evade it anymore. He wasn't even averting his eyes in denial. The shower stopped running, but he kept his eyes on me. That's when I realized I couldn't remember the last time I saw him blink. Dad had been in the accident too. Why hadn't I wondered why he came out unharmed? I'd been so busy mourning Mom that I hadn't even stopped to think. He must have seen it in my face because his smile stretched wider. Now you understand, but you mustn't let Mother know that I told you. She wants to have a family so badly. I hate to think what she would do if she found out you didn't think of her that way. What are you still doing awake? My mother asked. Oh, I skipped the line. Sorry, I just killed the tension. The bathroom door opened. It stood there wrapped in a towel. She walked nonchalantly over to my dad, or who I thought was my dad, and gave him a kiss. They both turned to look at me. What are you still doing awake? My mother asked. Is everything all right? He was just going to bed, my other dad said. Everything is fine, isn't it? I nodded. Come, let me tuck you in. My other mother started moving towards me, but she stopped when she saw me flinch. Let your mother tuck you in. My other dad's voice was tense with an unspoken threat. Perfect parents like us deserve to have the perfect son. I hope we won't need to replace him. He laughed at his own joke, and she put her hand on his arm as she laughed with him. I turned around and headed for my room so I wouldn't have to see the blood dripping down his arm. The end.
That was a lot.
Like that
It was. That was the shortest thing I could find in a short amount of time.
So let's recap because I feel like the story deserves that. So he understood that whatever he brought into the house was not the woman that he married. He just wanted his daughter to have a mom.
Well, his son, that was
his son to
boy.
have a mom.
Yeah, but the thing is, at the end, it was revealed that basically his dad is the same thing as its mother.
Okay.
So basically, both of his parents had died, but he didn't notice his dad was also dead or had died because he was grieving his mother so much.
Wow. That's creepy as hell.
Ooh.
It's creepy
Right?
because like you think like you're gonna look at your family and be like, are you who I thought you were?
Mhm.
Like start asking questions like what's something only my sister would know? Like that's such a problem.
Yeah.
And then how do you solve that kind of problem? Like what happened?
Yeah.
Because they're already there taking up space and you're dependent upon these monsters to live now. So
Right.
that is awkward and creepy.
It
That's
is.
the problem.
And it plays on the fear of like what happens after a catastrophic event like that to a family.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to give that a 4.
I'm
like,
gonna, yeah.
You know, like,
That was pretty because
Yeah.
they're there in your house. They look like your parents. And like at the end, like the sort of marching orders that the dad gave, like we deserve the perfect son. Hope we don't have to replace you with something that doesn't, you know what I mean? Like,
Shape up or
Like,
ship
oh,
out.
okay.
you know, it's like revealing that he's trapped.
Yeah, like, ew.
Oh,
That's so scary. I mean,
But I guess
from like a kid's perspective, like, wow,
right,
that's a lot to go through.
right.
But I think what helped is the intro line where it said, but something doesn't become true just because you want it badly enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, love is blind and so is hope. So that sets it up to where that reveal at the end that, oh my goodness, my dad is the same thing as the mom.
Yeah.
But he couldn't see it because he was so torn up over his mother, losing the mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they did a really good of like focusing on the mom so much that you really didn't pay attention to the dad until like it became a thing, and you're just like, oh.
Yeah. And the not blinking paints such a creepy image.
Uh-huh.
You
It
know,
does.
like anyone can look creepy if they stop blinking.
They don't blink.
Should we have a staring contest right now?
I'm probably gonna lose.
Wow.
And it's funny because I think I associated the not blinking with not a lot of facial expressions either, which is also
Yeah,
not a lot of expressions and just ooh.
Isn't that a thing? I don't know. With psychopaths or sociopaths, something about the blank facial expression, or one of them branches. I don't
it's
know.
probably sociopaths.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think the sociopath is more charismatic.
Sociopaths are usually very social though, which is like you probably run into a couple of sociopaths and not even really realize it because they're very acting. Like there's quite a few people with successful businesses who are sociopaths.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh.
Yeah.
But it might be sociopath because I like to watch or listen to Reddit story times, and they have those topics where people talk about their encounter with that whom they presume to be a sociopath or a psychopath or whatever. And one of the common things that they would bring up in their stories is that when you see through their ruse or disguise or whatever, that their facial expression just goes blank.
Oof. That's chilling.
Like, I can't pretend anymore.
Right.
Like, oh, well, now that cat's out of the bag. Relaxing all this human suit.
That was my little next.
Ooh, are you going to read Midnight Indigo?
Midnight Indigo. I think I'm going to read Bloody Chamber.
Ooh.
Just because, like, I really love Angela Carter. She is credited with being the mother of speculative fiction. I don't know. Back when she was writing, there was a lot of realist writers, like people that were writing, you know, like I got tea at this time and it was cold and it reminded me of my cold mother. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so she was really imaginative. And the Bloody Chamber is one of my favorites. Okay. So I'm gonna start towards the middle of the end of this story because it's very long. But basically, a very, very young girl gets married off to this very, very rich, middle-aged man who is very, very reclusive. He lives in this amazing like home, kind of castle, and he kind of like chooses her. Everyone's really excited because he's rich, but he kind of like chooses her. She doesn't have a choice in the matter, and she seems like she's still figuring out how she feels about it. And he takes her home, right, away from her family, and it seems like it's happening in like the 20s or something like that. I don't know. There's like a phone. I don't remember when phones were invented, but there's a phone, but there's one phone. And he goes home. He leaves for the weekend on business, and he tells her the whole castle's yours, but you can't go into this one room. And she does, and she discovers some like a bunch of torture stuff. And then he comes back and he's like, if I find out that you went in there, it's going to be issues, but I know you won't go in there because you're like a good little girl, which is brings up a lot of other issues. But I am going to read when he comes home, from when he comes home. Right, I think that's the scariest part. Okay. His hand brushed my breast beneath the sheet. I strained my nerves, yet could not help but flinch from the intimate touch, for it made me think of the piercing embrace of the Iron Maiden of his lost lovers in the vault. That's what she found in the room. When he saw my reluctance, his eyes veiled over, and yet his appetite did not diminish. His tongue ran over red lips already wet, silent, mysterious. He moved away from me to draw off his jacket. He took the gold watch from his waistcoat and laid it on the dressing table, like a good bourgeois. Scooped out his rattling loose change, and now, oh God, it makes a great play for patting his pockets officially. Puzzled lips pursed, searching for something that has been mislaid, then turns to me with a ghastly, triumphant smile. But of course, I gave the keys to you. Your keys? Why, of course, here they are under the pillow. Wait a moment, wait, no, now, where could I have left them? I was willing away the evening without you. I was willing away the evening without you on the piano, I remember. Of course, maybe they're in the music room. Briskly, he flung my negligee of antique lace on the bed. Go and get them. Now, this moment? Can it wait till morning, my darling? I forced myself to be seductive. I saw myself pale, pliant as a plant that begs to be trampled underfoot. A dozen vulnerable, appealing girls reflected in as many mirrors, and I saw how he almost failed to resist me. If he had come close to me in bed, I would have strangled him then. But he half snarled, no, it won't wait, now. The unearthly light of dawn filled the room. And sorry. I'm not, sorry. The unearthly light of dawn filled the room. Had only one previous dawn broken upon me in that vile place. And there was nothing for it but to go and fetch the keys from the music stool and pray that he would not examine them too closely. Pray to God his eyes would fail him. Maybe he would be struck blind. When I came back into the bedroom, carrying the bunch of keys that jangled at every step like a curious musical instrument, he was sitting on his bed in his immaculate shirt sleeves, his head sunk in his hands. And it seemed to me that he was in despair. Strange. In spite of my fear of him, that made me whiter than my wrap, I felt very sorry for him. And in that moment, a stench of absolute despair, rank and ghastly, as if the lilies that had surrounded him had at once began to fester, or the Russian leather of his scent were reverting to the elements of flayed hide and excrement of which it was composed. The gravity of his presence exerted a tremendous pressure in the room, so that the blood pounded away at my ears as if we had been precipitated to the bottom of the sea beneath the waves that pounded against the shore. I held my life in my hand among those keys. In a moment, would place it between his well-manicured fingers. The evidence of the bloody chamber that had showed me what I could expect was no mercy. Yet, when he raised his head and stared at me with his blind, shuttered eyes, as though he did not recognize me, I felt a terrified pity for him. For this man who lived in such strange, secret places that, if I loved him enough to follow him, I should have to die.